Hello, my name is Mitch Watson, and I'm the Wagon Master for 2014. I have some persons here that have much more experience than I do. In this matter of fact, they've started this program, the 4-H Wagon Train. It's very interesting, and I wanted to uh, share this program with you, and um, like to maybe start off with a question of, I suppose, to Lyle. Lyle, it sounds like you started, or at least were a part of this starting the program.
Yes, actually, the idea we came up with the idea in about 1980, and it was a result. At the time, I was on the faculty of Oregon State University, and I was charged with the 4-H programs in Washington County. And they wanted us to do a long-range study of whether our 4-H program was meeting the needs that we were trying to meet. And I was a little skeptical about these studies, so I said, well, if we do all of this, can we really make a change if we need to? And they said, well, absolutely. So we got really serious about it and developed some committees to look at our programs. And as a result, we came up that our programs were very competitive, heavy on the competitive side, not so much on the cooperative side. They were, they focused, the horse program focused mainly for girls and not so much for boys. Plus they sort of ended in the show ring and they didn't go anywheres, with their horses, like where they could really use them. And we also emphasized youth, which was good, but we wanted to get the families involved more. And then the fourth thing that we came up with was we weren't doing enough outdoor adventure type programs in Oregon's beautiful outback. So as a result of that, the idea of the wagon train was conceived. It was one part of about 5 different outdoor programs that we started. That was 1980, and it took about 2 years to get everything gelled and get a wagon board started, and the first train went in the summer of 1982.
Well, I'd have to say I've been involved in the wagon train for a few years now, and that's kept up. And for 30 years, to maintain those great qualities is great. I believe it to be Pat. Pat's in charge now from the 4-H group
Yes.
of the OSU, Oregon State University Extension Service, and he's very proud of this program. But it's really neat to see that not only is the youth involved, but the families are involved, and the teamsters, and whom are the wagon, let's call them drivers. Teamsters,
Yeah.
the ones who ride,
Right.
make sure the wagons are moving in a safe direction and in a way. And there's walkers. There's just a wide variety of people that are taking advantage of the 4-H wagon train.
And it really belongs to everybody. I mean, some of us may have came up with the idea, but it's very humbling to see that it's gone on for this many years and to see it maintain the traditions that it has and still reaching some really great goals. It's literally impacted thousands of lives over the many years.
Well, I've gone over some of the rosters, and I've definitely seen a lot of names, and a lot of people return, and a lot of people are hopefully going to be new here. This is what our program is about, to advise people of the 4-H wagon train program, and hopefully we can put out a lot of information so we can bring some new folks in. It's really nice to see.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Let's look into maybe some questions to some others. Let's see. Let me ask. We also have Elmer Schrader, Larry White involved, Lyle Spichart, myself as Mitch, and these folks have been in the wagon train for many years. Not only that, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Larry, would you happen to have some family members involved in the wagon train?
Well, I can speak a little bit to how I come to the program. Actually, Mr. Schrader got me involved in the program, but I came to it fairly late. It was actually in the early 90s. And I had a great great-grandfather and a great-great-grandfather that came across the plains in 1852 with a diary. So I was always fascinated by the subject and wondered if I could personally have done that. Somehow I think things like that. I wonder, could I have done that if I had the opportunity? So I came to it, and I had the opportunity to do the program as it was done in the day, because at the option to come over here with a wagon, you either had oxen or mules. They did not use horses. Horses couldn't hold up, and so I've had the opportunity to drive mules. An interesting fact was, on my first wagon train, we had 4 mules with 3 different owners. There wasn't as many. We didn't have many mules. Now all 3 of us that could actually field a 4, and so things have come along pretty good. So I've been at it. I've probably made half of the trips from the start till now. Mr. Schrader here, who was going to speak to us next, Mr. Schrader's been more than anybody. I believe there's no man alive that has made as many trips on the wagon train as Mr. Schrader. He has all kind of functions and was a fine driver in his day. Mr. Schrader, would you tell him about your career as a teamster?
Well, I want to ask you a moment there. I remember this ride. I remember riding with you. It was I think it was my first year when we came over the Detroit Hill, and we were coming home, and we were going through your hometown, your family's hometown, and I can't quite remember that hometown, but Larry kept mentioning about he would point up into the hills and say where his family lived, and I couldn't believe it, because I've been through this valley before, and then all of a sudden somebody knew specifically about his family members, and it was just very interesting that somebody, I was talking straight up with somebody that knew about persons who came from the trails themselves, and that was very interesting.
Yeah, they homesteaded in the Santiam Valley in Mahama area, which is 10-15 miles east of or southeast of Salem. But their father and grandfather came in 1843 on the first train, came with daughters, so that it's difficult to trace because of the names. They were married daughters, and so he came with his son-in-laws and daughters, and they homesteaded in what is called the Ollinger Hills, which are the first hills going out of Salem, headed up. Those are still the Ollinger Hills, named from the Ollingers that came in 43, and so actually there was 3 generations that came from 43 to 52. That has encouraged me to pursue the interest in this.
That's great. Well, Mr. Schrader, sounds like Larry's mentioned that you have a story or two to tell. Do you have anything? You're not one for talking, are you?
Well, the stories is I started on the wagon train in 1983. And I've got to say that when we first started out, we weren't as organized and prepared as what we are today. So I got to go on the wagon train ahead of the wagon that I was assigned to, with a rope around the horn on the saddle back to the tongue of the wagon. Well, I thought that with all the horses I had at the time, if I was to buy a harness, we could put 4 up on the wagon. Well, why do it halfway? So I decided to buy a big team. And I bought a big team and a wagon. And
how many is a big team?
Well, a big team of 2.
Oh.
A big team of 2.
Team is 2.
And
Plural.
I got to tell you, my terminology, we all learn. We all learn. That's the great thing.
And that started it out, and I went, I don't know, maybe 15 years or more with the team and wagon. And then I've been promoted or demoted to the supply. So now I make sure the hay's there and the camp is moved every day.
Oh, I think we all take a position or two. I think we've all found ourselves helping out in one form or another, and that's what really brings up the leadership in our group. We're really looking forward to persons who have the ability to help out in there's many aspects. Teaching how to make a knot, teaching how to harness up mules and wagons. I mean, I will be learning a lot, as we go along. I'm even, I might be a wagon master in this, but there's just so much to learn. And
we're probably, the wagon train, probably its goal is not to teach everybody to learn how to go on the wagon train, because that's not so practical nowadays. But it has served as a great vehicle when you guys agree to solve problems and work as a team, pull together.
Absolutely.
You have weather situations, you have adversity, as you mentioned. The first few years, the distances were a lot longer. And so the challenges to get from point A to point B were pretty great. But the good part in those kind of situations is you learn how to confront things and overcome them and get the pleasure of feeling what that's like.
That's where the youth program and the leadership program and the 4-H come in, and I believe strongly in that, where persons like yourselves have great experience and have proven yourself to be able to teach, and then you have willing persons to young youth, 10 to 18 years of age, come into our program and to be shown all the aspects, not only the harnessing, but maybe helping out with pans, with the cooking program. We all have our position. It was just like before, very simple, where if you didn't do small things, then you wouldn't, the whole process wouldn't come full circle at the end. So everybody pitches in. It is a really great vehicle, as you said, to involve all persons, youth, and the adults or leaders of the 4-H program.
We've talked about it as a journey back in time, and which I think is kind of a neat slogan, but it's also a journey away from today, because you have a chance to get away from all of the things that distract us, our cell phones, our computers, traffic, a lot of that.
So.
And you're just confronted with a slower pace, wouldn't you guys think?
I think sometimes about Wednesday or Thursday is the first time you think about home and any of your responsibilities there.
Yeah.
And, they've always said, we go off for this week and it's just a relaxed time. It's relaxed because you don't have the pressures of everyday life. I'd like to add, we want to teach kids, and you ask them to assist you. Give them little chores. And I can think of more than one instance. I can remember one. It was really funny because I'd had a little problem with this kid. And on Thursday, I think it was, he says to me, if I come next year, can I come on your wagon? I says, yeah, you can. I said, he really took hold about Wednesday.
Yeah.
Up until Wednesday, I wasn't that happy with the kid, but he took hold. And the next year, he come by with a friend of his, and I overheard him tell his friend that Elmer and Charlie were okay, but don't make them mad. But and the kid came back, and like I say, it was really a very positive experience for both the kids and us, I think, And I think about it, when I first went, I was probably one of the youngest guys with horses. And now I am the oldest.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah, how did it happen?
I have a good little story that I'm really proud of. One of my first or second year, there was a kid was coming and without a parent. And so the policy was that some adult would assume responsibility for a kid and they asked for somebody to do this, and I volunteered. It was a girl that she's 12, 13 years old, and turned out to be one of the most remarkable individuals I have known. We always drove 4, which is a little more challenging than driving 2, and she was so good with the smaller kids that I was totally spoiled, and she looked after all the busy work, and I crawled on and drove, which was really fun. Since she went on, my partner got hurt one time, and she'd been practicing driving a little, and then I jammed my thumb. My partner, it was on the picture right there, my partner was in the hospital or somewhere. I had a jammed thumb, and I says, well, you're going to have to drive. And she was just a kid, and drive she did. I'm very proud to say that she has gone on, graduated from college, has a master's degree in history, and credits some of her interest in history to me, and ended up being a most remarkable driver. Sadly, she's in Florida, which I'm very upset, so I can't have her on the wagon train anymore, but she was a dandy, all around individual on a wagon train, as good a girl as I ever knew, and that has been a high point for me. So.
That's what it's about.
Yeah,
Making memories and
I
learning and growing.
I was very lucky to have her, and like I say, sad she's out of town, because we miss her as it just was a really good person to have on the wagon train.
That's a great story. There's a lot of stories. You have some too, Elmer, of multi-generations, because your granddaughter, I think, went on it. Your
Yeah, my
daughter went
grandmother,
on it.
my daughter and my granddaughter both.
And that's not uncommon.
No.
Multi-generations.
Well, look at old Morris. There was great grandkids.
Right.
4 generations on there.
And that's just an added benefit where the families, can enrich their experience too on this. The actual.
Absolutely. I've been involved in other programs, and where the youth or the child is not too willing to go on the program, or at first, and even during. That might be at the beginning, but for instance, these last 2 summers, I remember the last meeting we have, the last circle we get into, and basically say goodbye. And when we do that in the friendship circle, there's probably 3/4 of the people at least were crying and sobbing. At the beginning, I think everybody was not too willing to go, and in the middle, like you said, Wednesday, things start clicking, and Thursday, Friday, that's where the youth really get involved. As a matter of fact, the juniors, the junior leadership, the youth whom take over the positions of the adult leaderships, and they take over, and they actually learn how to run an organization. And but Friday and Saturday, everything is working very greased, very well. And then it's usually either Saturday night or Sunday. Our departure, our friendship circle, is we have developed such a tight relationship with each other, and we're so saddened to leave. And it's just very interesting that it takes a little less than a week to go from I really don't want to go to when can we go next year.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for persons to maybe show up many years in a row, on and on, and and even go into your adulthood and come back. And so we're really looking for some persons to get involved in the 4-H wagon train.
How do they get involved now?
That's a good.
Somebody might be asking that.
Very good question. Honestly, if you do a search for 4-H wagon train or 4hwagontrain.com, you'll get a an internet connection for the Oregon State University and other parts. You'll find that 4-H Wagon Train at gmail.com will get you to the internet or the email, and the email will bring you to actually I will answer that. It'll come to me and a few other of the board members, but we'll answer your questions. There's many people have asked a lot of questions, and I'm open to answering every and all of them. So, and if I can't answer them, I'll find a way to answer them by talking to like yourself or anyone to get the answer out. I remember one of the gals that I was talking to was a mother of a family, large family, and she said, "What's it all about?" And I said, I gave her a little information, kind of what we've been talking about today, and she goes, "Do I have to plan for it?" I said, "Oh no, you don't have to plan for it. I mean, you have to plan with day and take the week off and so on." And she goes, "Oh well, how much food do I have to prepare for this?" And I said, "We take care of that. This the wagon train is very well rehearsed at doing the food preparation and the trails preparation and etc." And I said, "Nobody. You just come to our group and a few meetings over the course of the year, and then you bring your family and go for a trip." And you're kidding me. And
Yeah,
so,
but all that said, it's still a working wagon train, right?
oh, for
They'll
sure.
still have assignments and duties to help make sure everything works right.
There is some general assignments and duties to do for sure. Like I said, there was there's families. There's I believe somewhere near 6 families, and they've been given. Maybe you guys can help me out with some names. The Palmer family.
We've tried to name the families after legitimate pioneers.
Yes.
They started out just having colors, but now they've used known pioneers to.
And so they should, and I think that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So there's families, and where say we have plus or minus 100 persons who show on our trip, and so we split these 100 people into about 5 or 6 families, and these families take care of their own of their tents. They maybe there might be some pictures involved here, but there'll be some tarps that are constructed by the family, each family, and the way they want to make their tent and over the night. And then so that's one of the jobs the families have to take care of. Maybe the family that one night needs to take care of kitchen cleanup. And then another family the next morning will take care of the kitchen cleanup, and it just switches. It's all organized for the member and taken care of by the board and leadership members.
So everybody has to pull together in the same direction to really get it all
Absolutely, and you know what? It's not a perfect picture, and we talked about problem solving at the beginning of our interview here, and that's honestly that's what we do. We problem solve throughout the whole program, and we have the leadership developed to take care of our problems in a respectable manner to the youth and the adults, so we can solve these issues and come up with a good, safe way.
And I think you still have trainings, I believe. The trek is usually in July, like right after the 4th of July, for a week there. But all before that, the months before that, you have monthly gatherings where you learn different skills and stuff to prepare
Absolutely.
for that.
Matter of fact, there's some mandatory meetings for every event, such as the week-long trip, which is in the year 2014. It'll be July 12th through the 20th. And that will be the wagon train trip itself. There's another pre-trip, which is what we call tune-up, and tune-up is perfect because it just gets the bugs out for the big trip. Where locally we get together I say locally, meaning within an hour or so in this area, we get together as the whole group, and we have an overnight stay, and where we practice, in a sense, our tent building and our scrubbing, and all the small jobs, and just kind of get a feel for what's coming up in a month. That's usually in June. So, yet you're asking the meetings, and those are the small meetings that we have monthly that we get together from. It's usually in the evening. It'll be in at the Washington County Conference Center, the Max Track parking area, and our meetings are near 6 o'clock in the evening till about 8 o'clock, so we can get people to come in and as much as we can. And our general meetings are to one is to see who we are, to visit with each other and have a face-to-face and have a good comfort level with each other. The other is to communicate what's going to go on. We all need to know the small stuff. And yes, there are breakups where youth and leaders get together and they sharpen knives and in a safe way. They talk about how the equine group or the riders, the horse riders or mule riders will that group will get together and talk specifically about how to be safe on that trip. The Teamsters will get together and talk about their specifics.
So if you have a horse, if you're in the 4-H horse program or you have a horse, you can bring your horse on the trip?
Yes.
Sounds like it.
Yes, you can.
That's
You have
great.
to show that your horse and yourself are a good team and can safely maneuver, and we will have a required tryout. Sure, thank you.
For the rider and the horse?
Yes, we'll have a required
Okay.
tryout, and typically we have a group get together and we go for a few hour tryout just to make sure that you are a rider, and that's a very safe and it just proves that to the group, to the 4-H group, that we can have a good safe trip. There are walkers involved. We have a group of walkers in which can be a part of this also. So you don't have to have an equine.
I think it's important to stress that it isn't necessarily for those who have horses,
Correct.
that everybody of 4-H age is welcome.
And you don't even need to be in 4-H, right? No.
You can
Just
join,
start- join-
you will be enrolled in 4-H when you come to
Right.
the wagon train meetings.
It is very simple to become a 4-H member, and it's as simple as a form, and for the youth and for the leader, it's a form and a background check, and there's no expense to that to the person involved that wants to be involved, and you get your background check and your forms turned in. You become a member, and off you go. You don't have to have you have to pardon me, but either a mule or a horse to ride. You can be a walker, and that's a wagon train. You're gonna have maybe you guys help me out, but a wagon train was not purely a horse, a wagon, and mules.
In fact, far and away the majority of the people that got out here on the Great Western Migration walked. They didn't ride in the wagons because the wagons was full of stuff. To go back up, my great grandfather in the upper, when they were coming up the Platte, got cholera, and I thought it was always fatal, but apparently it is not. He had to ride in the wagon for 7 or 8 days, something like that, and he said that the ride in the wagon was worse than the cholera. Because anybody that's ever ridden in one of these things over
No suspension.
off of the road is the most miserable ride. But that his diary was missing those days, of course, that he was sick. But he picked up on it right after when he got well enough to get out of the wagon. It said that riding a damn wagon was way worse than the cholera. So these wagons aren't, except the ones that we have. They got spring seats on them.
You don't have what do you have on your seat? It's about that thick.
No, that's
No.
Mine. I
Nothing.
wish I might. Yeah, there might be. If I could find one, I would have. Yeah, I'd put anything on there I can get. But we have a spring seat, and the thing is still pretty a rough riding deal, like, except on the road if you go off the road much. And so, yeah, that's a misnomer. Again, they did not. Very, very few horses came out on because they just weren't hauling feed. See, to make our outfit work, we carry mass quantities of hay for this week. We feed how many tons of hay in a week?
Depending on the number of
About.
horses, but it's 2 trips to the feed store.
Yeah. See, for a week.
2 big trips.
Well, those people are making 3 months, and they're not hauling any feed. So they had to count on just what was available on the trip. So that's for the reason for either the oxen or the mules, because they're a little more efficient in their use of.
We have to find a little humor in the way we live today. And this feed that we feed so generously has to be certified weed-free hay.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a little different from when the original people came.
yeah,
along.
yeah.
'Cause they got to graze, you could drink out of the streams, and you guys have to haul the water in
Right,
now.
right.
Yeah, and there's good reason for that
Oh, yeah.
because
Cholera.
yeah, but the great thing about the longevity of the wagon train is the good relationships that you've maintained with the U.S. Forestry Department, Oregon Department of Forestry, all the jurisdictions, and it's from what I understand, it's still no trace camping.
Yes,
When
yes.
when you leave, you try to have very little impact
That's right,
on the
that's
environment.
right.
And that's a good learning thing too for everybody to learn. We can
Absolutely.
take that with us wherever we go.
The overall program is the week that you spend with people. It just brings you closer. They're your friends,
Yeah.
and it just becomes part of your life, your whole, your social life, and you'll run into people 10, 15 years later, and they'll
That's
recall. And
So you hit that, and that's kind of interesting. As soon as you said that, I've been to your house a couple times. I've talked to you. I mean, I've known you for like 2.5 years, and it seems like
Yeah, forever.
we're pretty connected. Mr. White here.
Yes.
I've been to his farm, and
That's because you were driving by getting hay from the neighbor.
well,
And your point is?
well, as Lyle says, the group tells you how to be respectful, so that's why we stop by and say hi.
Right.
I'm meeting Lyle, who I've just met in a sense. He started it and has taken some reprieve or something, but been in the background, and the network of friends that you develop is incredible.
Yeah.
I want to get to a question to you, Elmer, in regards to support. You were talking about what happens in the background. So here we are, as members or pioneers. We're walking and we're riding and we're sitting on wagons that bounce and
Seats,
yep,
sponge
that's correct.
over cushions.
We're solving problems. We're trying to figure out how to get around a gate. We're trying to figure how our foot hurts, how we're gonna mend that. There's paramedics on our trek that help out in medical situations, from mainly bruises and bumps and blisters to whatever happens. And a very sophisticated program there. But the support in the background, Elmer, can you, I mean, in summary, what happens back there? Is nothing or something, or what happens back there?
well, as you know, like the Army, we travel on our stomachs.
Oh, is that right?
So the main thing is to get our cook trailer moved and our cook comfortable.
Yes.
And
I've
so
heard the cook is very important.
Right. And so that is our big function in the morning, is to get that camp moved. And then, of course, there's, like we mentioned, the hay. There's responsibility having that at the proper place. Water, that is a big thing,
Amazing.
to have adequate, clean water.
For the people and
The
the
animals
livestock.
and
Yeah.
the people. And that has to be there. And then, of course, there's the gas for the generator, the gas for the propane to heat the water to wash our dishes. A lot of things that the pioneers didn't have to worry about.
No,
so
you're
much.
right. You know what? This is a pioneer group and a wagon train, but there is some general. There's some niceties in the background that we take advantage of. Now you talked about water. You talked about moving around some things. How many trailers? I mean, the cook shack is a very large trailer, so we moved that.
There'll be 2 trailers and the hay trailer.
Hay trailer. How about we got
Then
some
we-
terminology, which is called biffy. I didn't know
Well,
what biffy was. What is a
our
biffy?
Well, that in our case, it's a
Or
portable
sanitary.
toilet.
Yes,
We have
yes,
2 of them.
yes.
We have 6 seats.
6 seats. We have two
Two
trailers that have six seats. Those are taken care of daily, often daily, and those are taken care of by your crew.
Support crew
Your support
takes care
crew
of that.
takes it to the city nearby and cleans up and comes back. And so we have toiletry taken care of.
I might speak to the luggage.
The luggage, yes.
Yes.
The luggage. This is gone beyond of what would you cannot believe what people after we go to these meetings and we chat with these folks about bringing this and that and the other thing.
Let me interject. Lyle, what did you bring? What did you bring?
I was thinking as you talked about that, Larry, the earlier ones, we had to weigh in with our luggage.
Should
And
happen.
and I can't remember what the weight was, but it was not very much because the first 3 wagon trains, we carried all the luggage with us.
Good.
So it was
Yeah.
the supply wagon was pulled by horses.
This has got
Larry,
so
what-
out of
yeah.
hand. There is a little girl, 12-year-old girl, that has got more stuff than she can pack, and I have been harping for years, that if the little kid can't pick it up, what in the world do you take? An example I'll never forget. We were down on the, what do you call it, in behind the lakes south of Bend down there, and it was kind of dusty and dirty, and we got back to camp, and I was walking up to camp, and I saw a cute little girl coming with the prettiest white dress that I ever saw. Now here we are, dust and dirty. This girl had come off of the trail and went back to camp, and what she's doing with a lovely little white dress, I'll never figure out, but she had this lovely little white dress on out there in the brush and the dirt and the dust and whatever. But this example, we do have a problem, and I think this weighing in should be a force because we end up with a truck, literally a truckload of luggage and with less than 100 people. I mean, I don't know what would the cubic yards of that vehicle be? That's
I don't. We think about weighing in, and I think about one of the old pioneer stories. Pioneers coming across the plains, and they
the
did.
checklist.
They did actually weigh in, and it was 17 pounds on this one particular trip, and if you cheated and wore more clothes, well, of course you had to wear them. But there was one girl. You talk about the pretty dress. She had all the ruffles. And of course they had to be ironed. So she carried a hand iron all the way so she could maintain.
So she'd look right. Yeah.
So she looked nice. And
Maybe this year we should try the grandfather clocks and pianos in the back of our
Yeah, right.
and see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Larry pointed that out, though. That's one of the first things you learn is the covered wagons are not very comfortable.
Yeah.
And people never did ride in them. It was really the Great Migration walking out west.
Oh yes.
It really was.
Well,
And so in that way, we're really authentic because a lot of the people that go still walk.
Oh yes.
There's a lot of walkers on the train.
Yeah,
well,
we're
the
primarily
first
probably-
few years there, took that big wagon that had the big box on it,
Yeah.
and 4 horses pulling it, all the baggage in it,
And all they
and,
did.
and a trailer behind with 2
The
portable
50s.
toilets.
That's right. And you talked, Mitch, about me being involved in starting it, and I was involved, and I appreciate that recognition. But I'm thinking of some of these early pioneers. My dad was one of them, and
He's the one that
Morris
pulled the big
Elver,
wagon.
Yeah, he pulled the big wagon. I mean, there was a whole bunch of them, and in a way, they were pioneers in their own right. Because that first year to start this thing off, I remember all the challenges, that everywhere as we went, they said, you can't do it, you shouldn't do it, why are you doing it? and it worked. It it had its
Of course it worked.
challenges.
We put together.
Right, and it's still working yet today. It's changed some because we used to go through the urban areas. We'd leave from Hillsborough and go up into the mountains somewhere. So that's pretty much out of the question nowadays. But I'm curious, where are you headed in 14? Where are you taking your train?
The mountain of the Ochocos.
Ochocos,
Yes.
beautiful area.
East of Prineville.
Correct.
Oh, at 30
nice.
miles? About 30 miles east of Prineville.
Correct. Our mission next year is to have a few camps and to make some loop trips from each camp. And so we can spend more time looking and taking advantage of the beauty of what we're actually there for, to get up and get our meal in, and then to go out on our ride or walk, and to take advantage of the time that we have. We then can come back to the same camp, and a support team can have some time to actually get involved and get the water going, and just be a little bit more ahead. So we'll also get back a little earlier and be a little happier, so we can play and do some things around the camp, and be productive, and maybe have some more programs and showing on, like I said, knife sharpening, and I did a class on medical, some Band-Aid, and some general first aid program. So the Ochocos in 2014 is going to be just spectacular. I've heard the Ochocos is just an eye opener, and I can't wait to go.
Talking about going, I'm not familiar with the current situation. Obviously, it costs some money to put a program together like this, and I know that we're very lucky to have the support of the 4-H program, and really it's a premier program for them. I think it's the only one that exists in the nation like this, but that holds the costs down because of the insurance and support that you get with the 4-H program. But if somebody did want to go, what does it cost?
The expense to the program to an individual is can be different from each. Now, for instance, in general, the general admission is $200. Is $200, and that's for general admission. If you have a horse or mule and are going to be a part of that, the Wrangler group or the group involved in riding, then I believe it to be $35 extra for a livestock fee. Let's see. Honestly, I believe that to be the case, but there are some benefits.
How can you have an experience like that as a family? There's no way any cheaper than that.
I discussed earlier about the mother that
Right.
I was talking to, and she's like astonished that honestly the 8 days worth of food and planning and preparation it's just it's
a result of all the volunteers and the donations, and I think you have a scholarship program yet too.
There is a scholarship
So if
program,
somebody doesn't
correct.
have the money, they can still go if they qualify.
Correct. There are many ways to be financed or helped out with the program. One is there's an essay. If you can build an essay, and you can submit your essay amongst others, and we choose an essay that's in regards to the wagon train itself. I think there's also, I mentioned about the junior leaders, in which are the youth whom follow the actual board, a board member or the member of the group itself. And if you want to become a junior leader, you can. What you could do is submit your request for that. If you find yourself to be a junior leader, then I believe it to be a $100 scholarship, which will help out obviously with the admission.
Good.
Yeah.
There are also financial hardships, scholarships as well.
Very good. That's true. So honestly, I believe if if it comes to the point of a hardship, I think if you submit a statement or inform myself as the wagon master of the 4-H wagon train, as you might see on the screen, 4hwagontrain.com or 4hwagontrain@gmail.
It sounds like if you want to go, then you can go.
Yeah.
If you qualify.
This program is developed basically to
Include
get people to have an adventure, to learn and to go through programs and to do trial and error and to try to learn as you go, and just to see the outdoors.
One of the amazing things that has bothered me for all this time is the amount of people that I run into that have never heard of it. And now there's thousands of people have gone. Thousands of people have gone. I've talked to people that, oh yes, I went when I was a kid before I ever even went, and on and on and on. And then it's amazed that this person, well, I never knew there was such. So I actually, one of the reasons that I'm here tonight is to maybe, if the slightest bit that I could do, is to help somebody at least know about it and have the opportunity not to go, because but they didn't know about it. And that it's just amazing the amount of people that, well, I didn't know anything about that, And I said, oh my heavens, and you live in Washington County. It's been going on for 32 years, and they never heard of it. And I'm going, we're doing something wrong here. We
should make a point that you don't have to be a resident of Washington County.
No. I
to
just
go
say,
on this.
but this is a Washington County resident that have said this to me, and I've said, my goodness,
You guys have some ideas of how far away we've had some? I think Spokane, Washington. We have a youth from Spokane, Washington.
Well, we had
we've had
Missouri,
Tennessee,
Missouri, Tennessee.
Boise, Idaho, I heard.
Oh yeah, lots of
Las Vegas,
Correct.
California.
But all those people have connections.
Yes.
with
They
somebody
all have
or
connections
area.
here.
There's a connection, and it's usually if the youth are involved, there needs to be a guardian of some sort, in which is legally bound to the child in agreement. So, do the parents need to attend? If they have agreed to a guardianship, then attendance can.
Many parents never came with their kids. They sent their kids, lots of them over that period of time.
I was being more specific about neighboring counties that think they couldn't go because they didn't. They thought it was an exclusive Washington County.
It's becoming more of a regional
It is
program.
now.
In fact, Central Oregon, I know you have a lot of participants from Central Oregon now.
Yes.
We do, and we're finding that there's a possibility that there might be. I don't know if the official word would be chapter,
Yeah,
but
I've heard that.
there's a possibility of a chapter being set up out in the Bend area, down the road, and like we said, it doesn't have to be. It's far from locational.
Well, you're in Yamhill County.
Yeah,
Point of information.
as you.
Yeah. Yamhill's heavily involved.
Yes,
really.
no, yeah.
Yeah, all the surrounding counties.
Got a
kind
lot of the
regional
livestock
program.
is down there.
Yeah. Yes.
I was just curious. Have each of you been the teamster of a wagon?
Actually, all three of us haven't. I don't know if you know, I was one year. The last year I went on in 1984, which was a long time ago. But that was the year my dad had 2 hitches in, and I and my brother helped my dad with his, and then we had another hitch because my great-great-grandparents came to Oregon in 1884 in a wagon. So
You
we
took the
that
wagon
same
right-
wagon from Hillsboro over to
Fort
Astoria, I
Stevens.
think. Yeah. Exactly. So I was, but normally I would not be a teamster. I was a support person.
I think you're a teamster. I think how.
Well, his father was
He was-
one of my idols as far as the Teamsters goes. He's one of the best drivers that I ever knew. Sadly, he was not able to go on a little longer. I never got to know him as well as I would have liked to, and would have liked to have the opportunity to travel with him. I never did get that opportunity either. But that.
So being Teamsters, I have not. Maybe one day.
Yes, yeah. Sounds like it.
I kind of, I think there's some general questions of the best ride, the worst ride, and a challenge or something like that. I don't know if maybe there's one that sparks each of your minds.
The worst one's a secret, you know.
Well, yeah. then let's go. Nobody will tell.
We can all think of a worst one, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I got one in mind, but I can't tell.
You know,
that
the
one,
the
can I?
good news though, this train, because of good planning and it's been a very, very safety-oriented program. Because you think of all the years and all the miles and all the horses and all the
Oh, yeah.
people, that there hasn't been. I mean, there's been a couple of events.
But nobody died.
No one's died. There's been no Donner Party
No.
episodes. Everybody gets fed, and it's really been very successful that way. Because really, with horses, as you guys know, and mules,
And you
and
know,
people.
some of your friends. I recall one night there was some confusion over the campsite, and they were all set up in the campsite, and there was a plant there that we were going to destroy, so the camp had to be moved.
Okay.
Well, it just happens that my wife was on support that year, and she worked awful hard getting the camp moved. And I went back with her on the last load or something, and we came back, and my wagon was gone. And let me tell you, Mrs. Schrader did not think that was amusing. Now, there's an individual in this group that recalls that.
Oh, must be you.
Well, I actually don't recall. It was early in my career. I don't recall. Of course, yeah, I don't recall. I believe that's the politically correct thing to say. I don't
That's
recall.
what Bill Gates would say all the time. And
But I want to add
I
to that
think we
story.
know.
As this went on, and needless to say, we always jab at each other. And this lady who had never gone on a wagon train before was standing there, and my friend comes up to me, and he would like to borrow my wagon. Well, that's not a problem. So as he walks away, she says, "You're going to loan him your wagon?" I says, "Well, yes." "Why would you do that?" I says, "Why wouldn't I?" She says, "Well, you hate each other."
it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, you guys really look like you hate each other.
That was the. We had somebody from Holland.
We did.
Yeah, and they wanted to. There was some talk about laying down on the road with a camera and have us drive over them.
Over them with the camera.
See how safe this group is?
He said we
hear this
actually
one.
suggested that they just lay the camera down and we'll drive across the camera. That guy was the guy from Holland.
Yeah, we was on the
And
radio.
you did that?
Yes,
we were on morning radio in Amsterdam every morning.
I'll be darned.
He went up the highest point where you could get cell phone service.
It's more than regional, it's international.
Yeah.
Sounds like
I just
live reports
I
every
just
day.
remembered that. Yeah,
That's neat.
but
We'll look for subtitles on this
Yeah,
show here
yeah.
today.
that was something going to lay down between those horses. Actually, I don't think we. Well, his team. It was his team. Was a real pleasant team, and they might have done that. But there's a lot of them that wouldn't even. My stuff wouldn't even think of straddling somebody laying on the road. It couldn't happen. His might have done it, but we deemed that probably inappropriate and probably saved us
Yeah,
some of the insurance
I think that was
claims.
smart. That was a good decision.
Yeah, Amsterdam,
You
Holland.
know, yeah,
Wow.
he was on a morning radio show.
Where did he come from? How did he get there? I don't even remember.
He was Charlie Jensen's
Oh.
granddaughter's father-in-law.
No kidding. Wow.
And,
There you go. I mean, that brings up names of how many people have been involved over
Right.
the years, and it's been thousands and thousands.
Yeah. Oh,
Really,
yeah.
it really
That-
has
just-
easily. And everybody who goes on it, as we all know, you're impacted. I mean, even though it's a year-long program and the actual event lasts a week, it's I really think it's a life-altering event. It's something that really changes you.
there was a guy that came. It was my cousin. I hadn't seen him for 50 years, and he heard the story of the wagon train, and it got that he wanted. So anyway, we made arrangements, and he went on a wagon train. him and his wife. And then it come the next year, we're organizing the train again, and the kid says, "Is Emmett coming?" Well, I didn't think he would. So they put a package together and sent it to Emmett.
Oh, neat.
And Emmett told me, he says, "I wasn't going to go, but when I got the package," he says, "I
He
decided
was
to
in
go."
Las Vegas, right?
He lived in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
He flew up here to be a swamper from Las Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, what's a swamper? For those that may not know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, the swamper is the assistant to the driver. Goes way back. Goodness, as long as I guess they were running hitches.
And there's a reason for that.
Oh my, yes.
Tell us
my,
what
yes.
the reason is.
Well, the reason is you can't be in two places at once. In fact, the bigger the hitch you have, the more interested you are in this kind of thing. The ones that you think most of are the 20 mule team borax. Now, I can't even comprehend catching 20 mules, let alone getting them and taking them somewhere with a load.
Really?
But two guys did that. They were better men than me. I got to have, if I have four, I'd like to have four, at least three swampers,
Yeah.
just to be comfortable. We don't, in this day and age, sadly, we don't use our stock as much as, for instance, when your dad was driving. Your dad was driving some really well-broke stuff that he used all the time.
Oh, every day.
Yeah, and so we mine stuff. I go catch them, and they're pretty good. But gee whiz, for the amount that they're actually awesome for the amount as little as they're used, and so that's what's going on now. We do have our hands full because of the fact that my father drove horses because my grandfather was a farmer. So he drove horses. So see, we're now several generations away from this. And I had a young fellow tell me last year or this year that I was talking to him about the youth being involved in this, and he says, well, they think differently now. They're on another wavelength. They are several generations from animals. They don't live anywhere near a farm, don't even have grandfather. They used to go to grandpa's farm, in the day when I was a little kid. And now they're just so many generations away from this that it's one of our problems, I believe.
Yeah, I think
because
you're right.
we're having a program here that is just not tuned to the current generation, the electronic generations.
Guys, I gotta tell you that I think it's apparent that we could probably be here for another few hours, but I think we need to wrap it up. And I guess I don't know how we could make it short and simple, but one of my questions would be, I'll even make it to myself, but what would be how passionate, how in tune, how passionate are you of Wagon Train? I mean, how much energy do you put into this?
Well, I don't put as much as all of you that are currently involved, but I still feel very passionate about it, and I think it's one of the better programs we have going today. When you look at the world that these kids grow up in and families grow up in, to me, it's just very gratifying and exciting to see that this opportunity exists. And we need to do, like Larry said, we need to get the word out again. We're too quiet about it.
Hopefully
so that we can extend that circle out to even more people, because it's an incredible program. And thanks to all of you that are keeping it going, because it's a labor of love, really. And it gives us older people a chance to do something and give back too.
Yep.
I think that's really rewarding.
My hope is to create one Teamster.
Yeah. One young Teamster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. One young, not an old one. Good grief.
Well, just to have people that communicate and work together. As far as this program goes, it's a very affordable program that people can do in their home, or in their home area.
Yeah.
And you read about so many vacations and they're really not within the reach of the average person, and they're they're too structured. This has been a lot of time gone into this. It's very comfortable to go. Weather, if we had that might be a problem. But basically, the problems are behind us. Yeah. And like you say, I'm passionate about the program because it's just, like you said, at the end of the week, you've got these new friends that really mean something to you.
Yes.
Well said.
And it's hard to put it in words.
Well said.
We did it.